Welcome to another episode of Raven's Stories. Yes, we love to listen and share stories of the day to day immigrant experience. As you listen, you may feel solidarity in shared experiences, empathy for the many highs and ultra lows of the immigrant experience. Most importantly, you just might learn as you realize that you were not alone.
Because for the longest time, I don't know, it just felt like I don't know how to explain it. Like during those years where I didn't sit down and be like, actually, why do you have to go abroad? There are people who were schooled in Nigeria that did well in Nigeria. Why do you have to? It just felt like I have to. Why not? Why? Um, Not like anything was promised to me abroad or a perfect life. Like, I don't know. It was just a stronghold, and it's still in my mind that where did this stronghold come from?
Who were you before you originally left
Nigeria.
Nigeria? Did you know?
No, I didn't really know who I was, and I feel like I was the worst I've ever been just before I left Nigeria. I think that's like the person I really remember because the worst I've ever been, probably arguably maybe one of the lowest, because I'm trying to think of like, yeah, one of the lowest I've ever been at just before I left Nigeria because of that feeling of being in a cage and about to leave. So I my SS1 to SS3, I didn't really enjoy it. I just never really clicked with the school. I never really clicked with the people. It
Mm.
just, I remember SS1, I would cry almost every night, like, why am I here? Why am I here?
Mm.
It's just like I was so out of place. Even though for my two friends that I like found and we all felt out of place, so we just kind of stuck together.
Mm.
Many of the people that were there, that particular school, they had been there, some of them from primary school, they had been
Wow.
together. So they had really strong bonds. And you're just this outsider who just can't really relate to their
All the
jokes,
inside jokes.
all their inside jokes, all their and like I said, there was this stark difference of um which school I had um my primary school, even secondary school, like
Yeah.
AIC. It was just
Yeah.
for all these people from I don't know, maybe I should say like upper middle class,
Yeah.
where there was just this way they were, and I had kind of gotten into that mindset and then being with people who it was a wide mix. We had really politicians, children, random, just ordinary people, everybody together, but it was a different vibe and I just
Yeah.
didn't fit in. So coming from that and now going to university and finally I've graduated from there. Um Now about to go to university. And in my head, from SS2, I'd been preparing SAT, all these things. I'm going to the US. But by the time it eventually came for me to leave, it's kind of like it's not the future is not matching. I don't know, like the dream is not matching like anyways, simple English, we can afford this. This is too much. Even with scholarships, it's just too much. So what are we going to do? You probably
Mm.
have to go to Nigeria. And in my head, that was not a reality that even existed.
Mm.
I imagine schooling in Nigeria or staying in Nigeria. Um, and I wasn't really close to anyone there. When we graduated, they became really close because they would always go for parties together because they were all planning to apply for either Covenant or Landmark. So it was almost like it was a strong bond that formed in my set
Mm.
after graduation. And for me, I never related while we were in school. And now leaving, I'm one of the few ones that want to go abroad.
Yeah.
You can't relate. So I really isolated myself. I remember then I graduated, I left almost all the groups that
Mm.
they created. Um, I was just dealing with a lot, I feel, mentally. So yeah, I was very isolated. I did not know who I was, but I knew I was this angry person. I was angry that I didn't have anyone to re like do this thing with, like from my school or
Mm.
from around me. I was angry that it had to be this difficult. I
Mm.
was just angry. So I was just this isolated, angry person.
Yeah.
And I would say I have been at lower points, but yeah, I probably was dealing with low mood. I'm careful to use the word depression, knowing like the clinical definition of it, but I was dealing a lot with low mood. So I was really I didn't know who I was. I
Mm.
just knew, I felt like, oh, when I start university, when I actually get to where I'm supposed to start living, I'll find out who I was. Uh,
Mm.
So being in that limbo, I didn't really know who I was. And I was also trying to even avoid the few friends I had because everybody wanted to know, what are you doing? What's next? Oh, you're writing SAT when I live in Nigeria.
Hmm.
Um, and I just thought there was no one I could really open up to and be like, oh, this is actually really hard because
Hmm.
I'm struggling with the finances. I
Hmm.
just didn't feel like there was anyone I could be that vulnerable with. So very hard time. But I feel like to other people, they probably saw me as very
Standoffish.
standoffish, snobbish. Like, who's this girl? Who does she think she is? Why is she leaving all the groups? Who even like, yeah. So I was not liked. Yeah, I did not like them. It was just, yeah, a very not a great time.
Yeah. And I wasn't around, and even where I was going through my own thing, so I was not available. But you know what I'm even thinking now is if before you left
Mm,
Nigeria, you had somebody who sat down with you and said, "Okay, I know you're planning to go here and it's not working out, and now you're thinking of going to this other place. Have you thought about what your life will be like here?" Based on this is the reality of what it's looking like to live in the city that you're planning on going to. And this is not an internet person, this is like a real conversation, talking about where you see yourself. And you're a very organized person, like you like to plan ahead. So um, as a teenager, then if that person had come alongside you to say, okay, let's look at what the picture of your life can be like in 5 years based on you're going to this country. Let's look at what opportunities are open up to you because you live in this country.
mm.
Do you think that you would have been, like knowing what you know now, do you think you would have been in the headspace to have those types of conversations? And would they have benefited your migration? Or would you just have been like, you know what, Omo, you're speaking grammar. Like, I just want to leave this cage. Like, that's all I care about.
Mm.
Because let me give you a bit more context. I don't know if you've seen this movie, Shark Tank. I think, no, Short, Short, Short Tank Redemption, Short Redemption, Shawshank, the Shank
Mm.
Show. Let me see.
I feel like the name sounds so unfamiliar. I'm just like,
No, Shawshank Redemption. Okay, Shawshank Redemption is features Morgan Freeman, and he's in prison for most of his life, and
mm,
it's like this story of redemption. It's a really beautiful old movie from like I don't even know what year, from 1994, but you were not even born then. Okay, so just dates. But essentially, it's this whole like after a person has been in prison for a
mm,
long time and then they move from there like into the real world, if they're not equipped and prepared, it can really be jarring. Because even when you equip them and prepare them, the world, if they were in prison for 10 years, 15 years, the world has changed so much. So, not to make Nigeria sound like a doomsday hill, because it wasn't,
mm,
and it isn't necessarily, but just your experience and your perception of how your life would flow when it came to the point of you were about to immigrate. It just felt like, oh, I'm in this cage and I need to get out. Um, but get out where?
mm,
And then when you actually get out, like, are you prepared for what's out there?
mm. So let me get your question. Your question is, let me rephrase it because there's a way I'm interpreting it. I want to make sure I'm getting it correctly. Are you trying to say, would I have chosen a different country if someone
No,
had sat down with me? No.
no.
You're trying to say
I'm
if
trying to say if somebody had walked alongside you to say, okay, you're immigrating to Ukraine, do you
yeah.
actually know what your life will look like there in the city you're going to?
Mm,
And that will be based on their own research or testimonials from people who have been in that country.
yeah.
And so then you're not just getting there and going based off of the visuals. You actually have an idea of the hostility you're entering into. and how you can participate and thrive. Would those sort of conversations have made sense to you at that time, or would it have been like anywhere is better than here?
If I'm being honest with myself, I feel like it would have been the second option. Like anywhere is better than here. Ghana is better than here. And I think it's something like I'm realizing now where it was more like a stronghold. I think
Mm,
I'm using the word stronghold because I've come to realize stronghold, like the meaning of what actual stronghold is, where it's not necessarily in my mind. I think stronghold was like something like witchcraft. I don't know. But
yeah.
a stronghold essentially is a firm mindset you have where you almost seek refuge in it. Like
Mm,
it's there where I don't I can't really trace where the conditioning came from. And just to digress a little bit, it's almost the same conditioning many people who went to school in CU and Landmark had, where it was for them their own reality of what they had seen most people do was they do their masters abroad and they move abroad from there. And that's what a lot of them ended up doing. In my head, it was just from when I was small, I've always been meant to go abroad. And from maybe from primary school, secondary school, this happens at the university stage. I didn't even think about masters then.
mm,
Um, so it's like it's meant to happen now. And
mm,
if it doesn't happen, my life in Nigeria is very uncertain, won't turn out well.
mm,
It was a stronghold in my mind that it would have been anywhere.
mm,
Even if last night I had to go to a country still in Africa,
mm,
I was almost like for university, I had to go outside Nigeria. So if someone had sat down with me and told me, maybe it would have prepared me a little bit, but I still would have been like, anywhere better than here. Just
mm,
yeah, I
mm.
think honestly that's what I would have, um, if I'm being honest with myself. But I think that kind of conversation would be very, because sometimes as a teenager, your mind is very set, especially if you're stubborn naturally, it's very set on something.
Yeah,
When light is shining or truth is entering, you're hearing it, but it may be years down the
before you
line
come
before
to
you
understand, yeah.
process it. But if that truth is said anyway, it's still good. Because who knows? Your
How
mind may
did
just
you how did you come to this understanding of, you know what, when I reflect, I see this as a stronghold in my mind? Like, how did you come to that realization?
this happened very recently.
Oh yeah.
Because the fact that
You've been abroad now for so many years.
this
Okay.
happened very recently. Like considering the fact that, I'm like going to be 27 soon. It's almost like it took you this long. Because for the longest time, I don't know, it just felt like I don't know how to explain it. Like during those years where I didn't sit down and be like, actually, why do you have to go abroad? There are people who are schooled in Nigeria that did well in Nigeria. Why do you have to? It just felt like I have to. Why not? Why?
Mm,
Um, Not like anything was promised to me abroad or a perfect life. Like, I don't know. It was just a stronghold, and it's still in my mind that where did this stronghold come from? Now I can't say how do I undo it because the deed is already done.
mm,
I already don't see myself staying in Nigeria for an extended period of time. It's quite interesting,
yeah.
but it would have been anywhere. I would have just wanted to go anywhere.
Who are you now? And after this question, maybe you can tell us more about how you actually ended up coming to the UK and what's your when you took the plane and landed. And so far, if people at the grocery store actually look at you, I made it from here.
Okay, so now, um, I would say I'm a daughter of God.
Mm,
That sounds very like, but since 2023 ending, I've really come to know myself more in Christ and just deepen my relationship with him as he's my anchor to life. Um so I would say now I'm a daughter of God who while here on earth, I'm just trying to walk in his purpose as much as possible. Walking, because I'm for a long time, I think I live my life very selfishly, where it's okay, what do I want to do? Where like it's all about me, me, me. It's almost like, oh, you're in a movie of your life, but the only reason I'm here is because God wants me to be here for a reason. So now I'm someone who's just trying on a daily basis to know what that purpose is and to try
mm,
to live it out.
mm.
without sounding too Christianese.
Mm.
That's who I am.
And before you left Nigeria, you were not at that stage yet in your faith.
Before I left Nigeria for Ukraine, but before I left Nigeria for the UK, I
Mm,
was already on the way there. I
mm,
was still in the process, but I'd already begun that process.
yeah. And when you landed in the UK, what was that like?
Okay. So brief summary of how I got to the UK. After the Ukraine war, went to Romania. In Romania, we could only stay 90 days. So at the end of the 90 days, I went back home. Initially, I planned to go spend time with my sister, but Canada was like, no, sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And by
I
your
went.
sister, you mean me. Just for
Yeah,
the record. Yeah.
I ended up going back home and while I was there, I graduated from my university in Ukraine. We're able to finish and graduate online. Um, and then I started thinking of a way again to leave. Because it's still just I feel like it was firmly in my mind, maybe from environment, but I really do believe like sincerely for my own purpose, everyone's purpose is different. Um, Nigeria is just not conducive to that purpose. Not because maybe I don't know, maybe because of many different things, but Nigeria is not just conducive to that purpose.
So when
It
you
may
were there, you were like, I need to leave again.
I need to give it again, but
Yeah.
this time like God opened, the way to God lead me and guide me. You know, I don't know what would have happened if maybe when I was leaving the first time to Ukraine, I'd actually, if I had that kind of relationship with God and I had let Him lead me, I don't know where He would have led me to.
Yeah.
Me going to Ukraine and the way everything ended, God's mercies prevailed. But I'm just like, God, take me to a country where I don't know, I don't want this kind of thing to happen again, where it's either I'm fleeing for my life, I'm having to go back and start again.
Yeah.
Just lead, guide me. I'm very open to many countries.
Yeah.
I have to be biased, whereas I just want, English to be the main language. So I'm not
Yeah.
that language barrier is not there, but
Yeah.
I'm a bit open. Um, so yeah, and eventually the UK, I was able to get a job here by God's grace and mercy. So I moved to the UK. So landing in the UK, I wasn't the same. How old was I? Maybe 17, 18. I wasn't the same like 17-year-old who landed in Ukraine. I was like, oh my gosh, a different country.
Mm.
But it was more so I was excited to see how different it would be. So I'd been in Ukraine, I'd been in Romania. I had seen like, okay, Romania to English was not the first language, but they were a lot more friendly. But I was interested to see how it would be in the UK where English is the first language.
Mm.
Times in Ukraine when maybe we were upset by something a Ukrainian did, we could talk about them in English and just oh you can't even understand us. But here where you are understood very well. It's like, okay, how is it like? How are British mannerisms? How's it going to be like living among these people who, were not too far in the past, ruling over us or colonizing us or whatever? Like, what's it going to be like the interaction day to day? So that was quite interesting. Yeah.
Tell us more about interesting. Why interesting?
So when I first got here, it was just there a lot of things that are not maybe carried by portrayed by the media.
Mm.
Obviously, you will okay, the popular British accent, which
Mm.
actually is just London's accent, because the
Mm.
British accent is so varied. But the popular British accent is just the accent you get in London. But like first hand hearing that accent and dealing with their manner, like there's the way they talk, there's the way they act. It's completely different from what I'm used to in Nigeria, even what I was used to in Ukraine. Especially in Ukraine and Romania, I didn't really interact with the locals. But here, you have to interact with the locals. They will interact with you. People are a lot more friendly, obviously because maybe they speak the language and um
What does the
in
media not tell you?
oh, oh yeah. Ah. Oh, also, to be fair, maybe because I didn't watch a lot of British, like Disney, like I grew up a lot on Disney. Disney is very American. But the British people are very, there's a lot of like, okay, the top two in my mind are this particular phrase they always ask. We might just need a third link. This particular phrase they always ask where it's like, oh, are you all right? And I
Can
never
you
even knew,
try to can you try to mimic it?
oh, bad with it, like making, but they'll be like, oh, are you all right? But like in Nigeria, in Nigeria, somebody asks you, "Are you all right?" It's almost are you like, are
It's
you?
okay. Are
It's
you
just such.
okay mentally? Is
Are you?
everything okay? Because you're acting like it's not. And I'm
So
about to give it to you.
I don't think I didn't consume a lot of British content. I don't know if this is portrayed well enough in their movies or shows, but I mostly just watch. I used to watch a lot of American movies, like American TV, even though there was a British actor in the movie.
Hmm.
All that we really portrayed is the accent and
Yeah,
maybe the stiff upper lip. But
yeah.
like that question, that phrase, I struggled with it a lot at first because initially I'm like, wait, why are you asking me? Abi, that not look all right? That kind of
Mm,
thing.
mm,
Also, the response that follows. So that phrase is very similar to the way in Nigeria we would say, guy, how far now?
mm,
If someone says how far now, although Nigerians are a lot more warm, so they'll even be open to you maybe saying your life story. But most times it's guy, how far now? Oh, I did. How far? I
mm-hmm,
did. Move. So
mm,
that's the similar thing. So when they ask you, oh, are you all right? The answer is yeah, and you? Yeah. And you move. They're not asking, they don't really care. If you're not all right, don't say you're not all right. Nobody's asking you that. It's just the same as, oh, how far? So at first I struggled with it because at the point I'm just like, please don't even like don't bother. And also with greeting. So it's here, it's not common to be like, oh, good morning or good, not even hi or hey. Their greeting is, are you all right? Yeah. And you? Yeah. That's the greeting. So a lot of times at work you get to work and you're like, oh, good morning, and nobody answers you because it's just like, who are you?
yeah.
Like, why are you good morning us? That kind of so that kind of culture shock, that was weird. Also, the culture of people now I see it more, maybe because now I'm in the UK and I'm watching YouTube is recommending more British content to me, but it's I have to compare it to Nigeria in a way for me to make sense of it. But the way in Nigeria we make light of our issues, that's
Hmm.
always the way we bond in a way.
Hmm.
Here, they complain a lot about many things.
About Americans.
About many things.
About many things.
It's the way they move here is to just complain, which is very weird to me, but it's just like, oh, the weather is so bad today, or this is so bad today, or the government. Okay, they already talk about the government, but it's basically just to complain. So they bond by complaining. Don't start a conversation. The small talk is them just complaining, and for me, it's still a struggle because while like it's very difficult here, especially if you're new in a culture, to change the culture. And I'm not trying to change anyone, but for me, I can do it for the first 1, 2 minutes, but I can't just every single time we're trying to small talk or complain about something. It makes me feel as a Christian ungrateful and as a person just I don't know. So every time you meet someone and they want to start complaining about either the weather or their workplace or their friends or sometimes even their family, like it's almost like a taboo to say something nice about yourself. Like, oh, this is
Mhm.
actually going well for me. You must always just be complaining. Oh, the weather is so not so bad. I'm working so many hours. Oh, me and another person is planning a vacation that weekend, but they won't talk about it. They'll just talk about every other bad thing that's going on in their life. It just seems very, I don't know. And now when I see like British content creators who move to America, which is becoming more and more like a common thing, and they talk about that thing, I'm like, okay, so it's not just me. They're like, they don't know why the British people thrive off being negative, but it's a thing.
Mm,
Like, it's a thing they enjoy.
mm.
If you want to small talk and you're just talking about the good things in your life, it's just like, who are you? This is
Oh, you think
not.
you have a good mate? Like, why? Oh, that was such a bad imitation accent.
See, I feel like the British accent is the hardest accent. Like to me, it's just it's like you have it or you don't.
Yeah, I clearly don't. But it's like, yeah, why can't you just talk about your fun vacation that you're going to go for?
Or like the other good things
Yeah.
happening. Why must it just be? And the weather is not for me. I like rain, so it's different for me.
Mm-hmm.
and it's really heavy rain in Nigeria. So here, when the rain is light, I mean, it's cold, but it's always like, oh my gosh, when it's raining, actually, it's a complaint. When it's very sunny, it's a complaint. So trust me, either way, there's always a complaint. That's just so it's yeah, those kind of little things I didn't really know.
Mm.
Coming here and experiencing them, it took me a while. It took me a while. It's still taking me a while. I've
Yeah.
kind of accepted that it will never be normal for me.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's been a journey.
Wow. I just feel like there's so many questions I have, and we could be here just sharing about different aspects of moving abroad. I think I'm asking myself if for whatever reason now you were to go back to Nigeria, do
Mm.
you and could you ever see yourself making a life that is worthy of being dreamt about in Nigeria?
Um, Now I would say I'm biased, but yeah, now I would say yes. But the thing
Mhm.
is, I'm very conscious of the fact, like the limitations of having a Nigerian passport. So
Yeah.
for the sake of my children, I would not want to do that. But after having children, and getting them established in whichever country I choose to have them in, that's an option I can consider. I can, you can have a really good life in Nigeria. As long as you're earning well, you can have a comfortable life in Nigeria. But I would not want my children to just have a Nigerian passport.
So
It's just too.
your children will also feel, hopefully they won't feel transient, but they will feel like I have options of where I can be.
Even if they eventually choose Nigeria, I just want them to have those options.
Yeah. Old friends, new friends, non-Nigerian friends. How
Hmm.
have you approached community building
So Ukraine, I wasn't really intentional about building
in
a
Ukraine?
yeah, especially because the way our university worked, we learned in groups. So we had classes, they'll put you in a group and you have classes together. I was lucky enough to put into a group where they were mostly Africans. So it was almost like that was automatically my circle of friends. Um, and that was what I stuck with, aside from maybe going to church. That was my community. So mostly just Nigerian friends. There were a few like Indian friends, but um yeah, I wasn't really like thinking too much about it. It was just, oh, are you around me? Do we have a few laughs? Then and either way, every single day I go to class, I have to be around these people. So it wasn't something I was overthinking, right? Coming to the UK, it's been slightly different. Um, Now I'm more conscious of and maybe more aware of I don't just have to let people pick me. I should also pick people that I have around me.
Mm,
Um, when it comes to that, where it's like, okay, now I have more options. I have foreigners who are even open to being my friends, things like that. Now I'm not, it's now an issue of what do we have in common?
yeah.
As a fan of the podcast, there was someone I listened to. I don't remember her name, but I know she was from the Philippines, and I think I'm
Haley.
sorry, Haley.
If it's the Philippines, it's Haley.
Haley. I think she mentioned that her best friend was also Filipino. I
Mm,
hope I'm correct. Um, but that just and there was just a way she mentioned. I think you asked her why. I don't remember the context of the question, but essentially she was trying to say like it's just they had things in common, and I feel like
yeah.
it's similar to me where it's now that I'm picking friends, I find myself more gravitated to Africans, not necessarily Nigerians, or Africans. Just because we have, especially Africans who have an open mind, because Africans who are maybe more close-minded, there are people who have moved abroad and they're just here for like 2, 3 years. They want to go back to Nigeria. They really feel drawn to Nigeria. I find I don't really connect with Nigerians with that like ideology. But
Mm,
Nigerians are open-minded or Africans who are open-minded, I just find more common ground with them, especially if they also have the Christian faith, where it's I don't know, there's just more common ground foreigners on a different scale, either they are from Asia or you Europe or the Americas, I find it really depends on if they're Christian and um if we have common values. But I don't really have a lot of that in my circle as of now.
Yeah.
Right now, a lot of my friends are Africans
Hmm.
and a couple of Asians, but a lot of Africans. Yeah.
For your Asian friends, what do you have in common?
A lot of them are Christian.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think here in the UK, we bond over immigration
Yeah.
in general. So I find Asians tend to be more either sympathetic or there's just a way, like I'll use my workplace for example. There might be a certain way, people from another certain, like people from a certain culture might misinterpret what you're doing or just misunderstand you or treat you and I don't know if I'm making sense, but um
You are.
immig being an immigrant is what bonds me with people, especially from Asia, where it's just like I know what it feels like to be on the outside. I know what it feels like to be misunderstood,
Mm.
and we bond from there. And
Mm.
then if then also the bond goes deeper.
Mm-hmm. This is something I've contemplated recently, but I'm not done with my contemplation on it. But I'm asking myself as I listen to you if truly um, someone from North America who's immigrated to London, if they would not, if they would not have their own unique struggles as well with feeling and being outsiders, and if they would not be able to relate on one level. And maybe that's not the right question to ask, but the heart of the question is it possible to find friendships with people that may not externally look like they're having a difficult time blending in? They should have, by the book, they should have no issues settling or being part of society. But actually, deep inside their shoes, their socks is falling off and they're having a hard time making
I
connections.
I think that question um does make a lot of sense, and that's also something I've pondered. I do find that there are a couple of podcasts or like duo shows I've seen of let's say Black immigrant
Yeah,
and a white immigrant who become close friends. And
yeah,
even those connections, I find they're able to connect on immigration.
yeah,
Now, I say that because no matter how open-minded you are, really, if there's no like connecting point or a point where you guys can relate on, I don't know. I find it, I feel it's really difficult for you guys to have a true connection if there's no connecting point. Now, that like
mm,
I find that a lot of white, like even where I work, a lot of white immigrants, the reason they don't really find have it, I feel there are a few that struggle. And those ones that struggle, it's easy to bond with them because the struggle is I can relate more to the struggle aspect.
yeah,
Uh, but majority of them, I don't know, I stand to be corrected. I feel they don't, the struggle is different. The
yeah,
struggle might be, I'll give an example. So there's an immigrant nurse who came from the US. She started maybe like a year after me-ish. And she's a lot more blended in now than I am, and there might be various factors to it.
yeah.
But one of the ways that when she first came, I saw people really bonded with her was she came from the US. So
Mm,
there's a thing in the US, the British culture and accent is a bit glorified. Everyone is so like, oh my gosh, especially when they hear a British person speak. But here is the opposite,
yeah.
right? Especially here in London, anyways, where when you're American and they hear the American accent, normal people that have been like, oh my gosh, you sound American, are you American? I'm like, no, they're like, oh.
Mm.
But here,
The disappointment, why aren't you American?
the American accent here and the American culture is really like, oh my gosh, like it's so. for her, her experience has definitely been different. Where she came and people actually they were interested in her story, they were interested in her. It's like, oh my gosh, your birthday is coming up. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I remember clearly there's a time when I first came, I really, really tried to fit in. I just accepted, you know what, I don't fit in, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But this time at work, there was a lady who shared like, oh, her birthday was a week before mine, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my birthday is a week after yours. And she's like, okay.
Oh my goodness, Ify. I don't know why this just bothers me because I can so relate to that. Even after all my years in Canada, I have friends that just like, and I think to myself, if I was a different color, if I was a different person, would they care?
They care. And you
That's
see
so
that
hurtful.
it's hurtful. Like it took me a while at work where it was like I had to really there are several things where I can like juxtapose where it's okay, this person who's my white counterpart did this exact same thing, but you reacted to me differently. And to be fair to them, it's not like a conscious I think it's more so an unconscious thing because I think it's also
Yeah.
me where it's when I see when there's someone from when there's an African person there who I automatically in my mind I'm like we probably have more stories to relate to. Maybe we've already had a few like banters and it's just like, oh, this thing happened to your childhood.
Mm,
I'm more likely to be interested in them than
mm,
someone who our childhood is completely different. You
mm.
cannot relate to anything. I feel, or maybe a few things you said that made me feel like we come from different sides of the universe.
Yeah.
Less I'm less likely to put in effort to know you or try to get to know you.
Yeah.
So I do think it's possible, but I feel like it's only possible when that immigrant has had like similar struggles. But a lot of the time, even people from maybe Australia who come here, it's almost like, oh my gosh, you're from Australia, my auntie lives there, my sister lives there, or
Mm,
when I go back there, we should go there for a trip together. But you're from
mm.
Nigeria. The question is,
How's
oh,
tourism? Is your family safe? I don't know. What did they ask? What did they ask you?
I've been at a table before. Someone was like, "Oh, I'm going to Africa." Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, you're going to Africa!" The question in my head was, "Which country in Africa are you going to exactly?" Well, nobody asked that question. Like, "Oh my gosh, you're going to Africa! Be careful of the animals." Girl, like, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see the elephants." This is this is not 90, this was last year. This is with people who are quite educated. So you know when you have that kind of mindset, and then you meet someone from a country where the elephants are roaming, you don't really have high expectations. Kind of like. Okay. Like I'm happy my country alleviated you from the poverty and you don't have to see the elephants anymore. Like I feel like that's the energy. But that was the day it really began to sink like in my head, okay. So this is the mentality.
They just made me laugh.
If someone is like they're going to Europe, where exactly are you going? What is your
Yeah.
going to Africa? And the next thing that comes to your mind is be careful of the animals.
Mm.
So it really just makes you so I do feel it's maybe not necessarily the color of your skin. Like to some people, it's not just color. Some people, it's that's basic, but some people, it's more so, oh yeah, Nigerian. If maybe I was black but American, it would still be a little bit different. Because like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you're black American. Like,
Yeah.
my
Yeah. You
girl.
know, it's just it's taking me back to the word that you use, the strongholds in our minds
Yeah.
and our perception of the world based on so many things that are beyond our control because it's our brains are absorbing so much around us and we're it's defining how we're seeing the world and we're seeing other people. Kind of takes me back to something that we started talking on earlier, how even in Ukraine, in Western Ukraine, that was as hostile as it was, if somebody was from the Maldives or someone was from America even,
Uh,
they would treat you differently, you know,
Completely. I had a friend that was American. His experience was completely different.
completely different. And the sad thing is I feel the same way here in Canada. And Canada is supposed to be a polite country. They're very open. They open their doors to refugees, to immigrants for the most part. But yeah, there's still that experience of they might not be so blunt as to say, "Oh, can't wait to see the elephant." But there, there's this feeling I sometimes get when I enter into a space as an immigrant or as the only Black person, and it's not that I feel like, oh yeah, I'm the only Black person. Yeah, diversity, equity, and inclusion. No, not that. Um, but I enter into a space as a Black Nigerian girl, and someone else enters into the space as, even if they're a Black British girl or a white British man, whatever, and just that sense that people people might just, if they're just all Canadians with, they've never left their country. Like not like just in this room, let's assume that these Canadians that have never really left their country, they might just gravitate more towards the British person than to me, because they might think, oh, we don't have as much in common, like what am I going to talk about with Nigeria? And I feel like it ties into larger themes of how we're seeing the world and why it's so important. This is why I love travel, why it's so
Mhm.
important to travel and to see the world and to really see people as people, be curious to learn their culture and to know that even before we're Black, before we're white, before we're British, before we're Nigerian, we are universally humans.
Yeah.
We eat, we poop, we pee, we cry, we laugh. We're humans, I don't know when it will really just sink in and it will show. And when you meet people like this, when you meet people that really just treat people as humans and see themselves as humans before anything else, it's so different, you know?
It's so different. There are people I've met at work, and there's this particular girl, like, to digress a little bit, she was meant to leave work and like move to Saudi, but for the past almost a year now, she's just been traveling around the world. I'm like, where are you getting this money from? But she was one of those people, like she grew up in London, she's from London, completely different. Even in the UK, Londoners are, they might be a bit like hostile at first because everybody's like hustle, hustle, hustle. But they are seen as probably like the most friendly because every day you meet different kinds of people.
Yeah.
Uh, but what you said, exactly. When you meet people who treat people as human, it's because they've seen that everybody's just human. But when you grow up in a bubble and all you know is that bubble, it's really hard to. There's this, so for a little bit of context, I work in a pediatric hospital, and I remember this girl, she was from Croatia. And I remember she would say, like, she had only ever come to the UK for treatment.
Hmm.
And bless her, there's no way I would have even corrected her. It was not my place, and she had more like serious things going on. But every time she would see a Black person, first question is, "Oh, where are you from?" And I remember when I would tell her, "Oh, I'm from Nigeria," she would, "Oh, I feel so bad when I see the people in your country. The children are hungry. I wish I could do something for them." And
Mm.
this is someone whose pure mind is just this all I seen on the TV portrayed about your country. They are starving
Mm.
children there. It's like, how do you cope? How do you? So like this, if
Mm.
this, if she was an adult, I'm almost like I expect you to know better than maybe, but this is just an example of what many people have been exposed to. All they know about Nigeria is starving children online. Some people are smart and they've escaped the country, but
Yeah.
ultimately everybody's in poverty.
Yeah.
A lot of animals. Um, the animals are always there. Even though I'm like, Nigeria, we don't have animals. We only have trees. But people always say that, and obviously now with the um safety issues, but yeah, when you see that kind of mind and somebody grows up like that, you don't expect her maybe to then become an adult and see a Nigerian and think she has anything in common with them. To almost just be like,
Mm.
oh, I pity you. Yeah, you
Mm.
hope you don't have people that are stabbing you, that kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
feel like really grow up like that. But on the other side, now, like for me as a person, I also think of what I would train my children to do, even if they are born, like for example, they are born in the UK. I would want to give them that opportunity to go to another country, not just limit their minds to, okay, the British culture, experience different cultures. Ultimately be aware that know how the way you grow up is going to shape how you see the world, but give people that opportunity first. Like see them as humans first. Let there be an opportunity for you to connect because you may come from different cultures, and I feel like this is what happens, maybe like not even maybe this is what happens in interracial marriages. You may come from different cultures, but there's still a possibility that you connect. You may have
Mhm.
nothing in common, but that may be even why you connect. Like there's still, so at least give people that opportunity. But when you're so close-minded to like, okay, I'm black, you're white, we can never connect.
Mhm.
Or you're white and black, like vice versa. So
Mhm.
even in myself, I try to always like, okay, this person, you may see them as they come from a privileged background, they can never relate to you, but try to give them a chance. In myself, I try to correct that mindset because
Mhm.
there's always that thing of, oh, this person, she probably can't relate to
Mhm.
any of my struggles, but you never really know. People,
Mhm.
whether they've immigrated or not, people have issues. You know,
Mhm.
you just connect on that.
And it's making me think about how in Nigeria we've been sold the incomplete truth, which is where I think the devil does best because he doesn't just sell you lies, he sells you like half truths. So we've been sold the incomplete truth that out in the West is where it's best, you
Yeah.
know? And then in the West, people are being told never go to the East. It's really dark and scary out there, especially in Africa. But they don't tell you that they go there and mine all the resources to literally make life in the West what it is. Um, and yeah, you see those two stories shaping people's lives in the most fundamental ways. When I meet Canadians or Americans who have had the opportunity to travel to Africa, to travel to Asia, their worldview is so much more expanded. But most Canadians I know are all over, oh my God, I'm going to Europe, I'm going to Europe. I'm like, why are you going to Europe? Like, you could just travel to another province in your country, But like for them, and oh my goodness, I feel so bad because I do have many Canadian friends. So no boo-boo to you guys, okay? This is my sister. So I'm sure you have this type of conversations with your sisters. But yeah, I just feel that we owe it to ourselves to be reflective about our experiences and our perceptions about the world and about people. My
A
word.
question everyone should ask themselves on a regular basis is, why do I have this? Like, why do I think this about something? Why do I?
Mm,
Because people have like you think something, but you don't really know why. It's even what
yeah,
you mentioned about Europe. Europe is very hyped. There's that conditioning of if you want to go on vacation, go to Europe.
yeah,
And I agree, probably they are like, I haven't traveled Europe, but I know there are a lot of beautiful places in Europe. But there's also that thing of there's just a conditioning of Europe is where it's at.
yeah.
Um, so I would just say, always just ask yourself why. I don't like this person at work, but why don't I like her? And
Mm,
if it's something substantial, or why don't I like him? Something substantial about, oh, they're actually rude, not just there's just something. There's
mm,
just something may just be your own bias.
yeah,
Not it actually is just something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of this thing that, like, if we were to have a conflict now, there was this thing I learned about the story I'm telling myself
Mm.
and the story you're telling yourself and the actual story, you know? So if we were then to get into dialogue of reconciliation and I were to proceed with, so Ify, the story I'm telling myself about why you behave this way to me is this is different from if I'm like, no, the fact is that this is, this is this. And I think that, yeah, so many times there is a lot of dissonance in the stories that we tell ourselves about the world, about places, Now there's a whole thing about the diaspora and how much money they funnel into Nigeria. And lots of Nigerians love to go back to Nigeria for Christmas. And we have to ask ourselves, yeah, there's brain drain happening in Nigeria. A lot of us have been conditioned to move. But is
Because
it
that's
that,
the conditioning.
yeah, is it that we really could not make a better life there in
Mm.
Nigeria? And Yeah, it's just very interesting, the story of where we come from and where we end up. Yeah.
Life is very interesting. 100%, I would recommend everyone should try immigration at some point in their life.
Yeah.
If you like, even if it's you don't have to move across the world, even if it's just moving to the country nearby. If you live in Nigeria, go to Ghana. If it's the US, go to Canada, but immigrate, just get a different sense of how people live. Because I feel like it's just
Mm.
really opening your mind. Sometimes you really feel this world around you is all the world there is.
Mm.
Like I'm reading this book. I'm sure I don't know if I've mentioned it, like Educated by Tara Westover.
No, looks so good. What's it about?
This book, it's about her life. It's a memoir.
Hmm.
She's Mormon, so she grew up and her dad was like really radical. And now she's like a PhD holder from Cambridge. So it's
Hmm.
they grew up not going to school at all. So from going to that to having a PhD, there's a lot. But just reading her story, I'm almost like people like someone that had this kind of life. We really grew up just thinking the world around us is all there is, and everyone is living like that. But when you see that people have very, very different lives, I don't know, there's a way
Hmm.
it opens your mind, and in me, I feel helps you become a better human being.
Hmm.
You become like everybody else or every story you read. Well,
If you
it,
want to read this book, I mean, I want to read every book that you're reading too because I love you. But I want to read this one. It's so good. Give
this
me a
is a I read one of the like comments here and it said sometimes in the book you like you'll be screaming, you'll be happy, you'll be I was like, why does the book take you up and down like that? Um,
But
but
now
when I
you
read
get it.
it, I was like, yeah, sometimes I'm in the book, I'm like, what is happening? Even yesterday, I had to drop the book. I'm like, I can't read this anymore. It's just too much. It's too much. How can somebody? It's there's a lot that it addresses without directly addressing it because she doesn't.
Hmm.
She's just sharing her own story, uh,
Hmm.
retrogressively. Is that the
Hmm.
word? But there's a lot you just think. There's a lot you think is normal because you grow up and you think it's normal.
Hmm.
But even when you find out it's not normal, it's hard to reconcile because like, but this
Hmm. Hmm.
tell me this isn't normal. It's so
No, because the brain has been wired to like see it that way, and now you're telling it no, it's not that way.
it's hard. I think that's what describes what I experienced, where it's growing up in my head, either conscious, like either it was intentional or non-intentional. I just thought going abroad was normal, especially for my family. My family is meant to go abroad at some point. So
Yeah.
trying to tell me, oh, but there's a possibility you stay in Nigeria, I was like,
Don't even
no.
say that to me. Hmm.
But it's a good read.
Okay, I'm gonna get that book because I want to read it too now. I
You
was
tell me
supposed to read this other one, but this one actually I just might get because it seems like something that is very much in line with my current contemplations. Wow, Ify.
yeah.
Huh? What do you say?
I was going to read the back of the book for
Oh,
you, but
read it. I want to hear it.
that so it says Tara Westover grew up preparing for the end of the world. She was never put in school, never taken to the doctor. She did not even have a birth certificate until she was 9 years old. At 16, to escape her father's radicalism and a violent older brother, Tara left home. What followed was a struggle for self-invention, a journey that gets to the heart of what an education is and what it offers, the perspective to see one's life through new eyes, and the
Hmm.
will to change it. And I think in a way, this is what immigration does. Funny enough, in her education journey, the breakthrough really came through when she immigrated, or yeah, she moved to the UK for school. That
Hmm.
was when really like, and I don't want to spoil the book, but yeah, sometimes
Self-invention.
self reinvention. Sometimes the end of it is not always everything like ends perfectly. Like
Mm-hmm.
you finally see a new perspective and you're able to reconcile it. Sometimes the end is you're not able to reconcile it. And you either have to choose this new life or go back to the old life.
Hmm.
But it's a good read.
Ify,
Yeah.
what would you love to leave our listeners with?
Hmm. um, don't be afraid to push beyond your um push beyond what you know. Um, sometimes ignorance is bliss, but a lot of the time, when you gain knowledge about either a different culture or a new system, worst case scenario, it challenges what you already know, but best case scenario, it helps you address certain things in your life. But a lot of times people are afraid of the new because they feel it will completely change them. But you still have the power to control how much it changes you. When
Mm,
it comes directly to immigration or moving to a different country, I would still recommend it's fine to visit, but visiting is really very curated. When you visit, you don't really experience that country. Like it's only the highlights you see. I would recommend at any point in anyone's life listening to this, when you can, either financially or realistically, if you have a family, try living in a different country. Um, and just seeing how different their way of life is to yours,
mm,
how it challenges some things you may have grown up with and accepted as normal.
mm.
It's really, really beneficial.
Ify, this was amazing. Oh, thank goodness we did this before the warning sign.
Really, that's like 120 minutes. That's like okay, 2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Good luck to Chris as he edits. But thank you so
Oh.
much. We love him. Thank you so much for, yeah, this amazing time together. And I'm sure that we only scratched the surface of so many things, but nonetheless, it was an amazing conversation.
It was. And hopefully someday I'll get to interview you.
Oh my goodness, what will I say? I'll now bash Canada. Please, I don't want to bash them more. I don't want to offend Mark Carney. Well, there, he's
That's the new prime minister.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, we love you too.
We love you, ish. Okay, Ify, thank you so much, and I can't wait to like talk to you off recording.
Thank you, Vicky. Thank you. I really do appreciate this opportunity. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We are as organic as it gets, meaning we are Instagram free, TikTok free, Facebook free platform. Welcome to the wannabe 80s. If you are an immigrant and would love to be interviewed in future seasons, please submit your interest through the link in the description. We would love to hear from you. I hope to meet you someday, but until then, please enjoy and follow or subscribe to hear more stories.